Art, welcome back to the Awesome Dad Show. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Great. Dad 2.0, great conference. Great to meet you in person.
Yes. We've been on each other's podcasts and stuff, but it's actually great to meet a lot of people in person. It's my third Dad 2, and it always had like that feeling like, oh, I'm actually going to meet my guys again, right? It's kind of like, yeah, you're learning a lot of stuff, but it's almost like a dad's retreat, right? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, my wife is here, and she was like, you're at a dad conference, but it's not about spending time with your family. I'm like, yeah, I mean...
At least they don't have it during like Father's Day weekend, because then that would be like kind of missing the point, right? So yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I think it's been a really positive thing, large sense of community here, which is really great. And if y'all want to hear the whole episode with Art, there'll be a link somewhere there. Click that and you can watch that.
Oh.
So Art, tell me a little bit about your project. You've got a few different podcasts going.
Yeah.
Why is podcasting so important to you?
Podcasting is like a new form of medium where everyone's like, what are you talking about? Podcasts have been for a while, but I think now people are starting to discover it, right?
Yeah.
You know as well as I do, it's a great way to get your message out there. People are like now, they listen to the radio, are they doing this or that? No, they're actually like in their commute, they're listening to like either audiobooks or podcasts, right?
Yes.
And now that there's so many things out there, you have a specific niche in the fatherhood game, I do, and a bunch of other dads here. We're going to be speaking on a podcasting panel soon. And everyone's got their own different voice, own different take, and it's a whole new world right now. So I used to work in radio, so I had like my background in radio, like having that audio, way to get the message out there, have some fun on a morning show. Now I get to do that with my podcast. I started that podcast like 13 years ago, Masters of None, with guys I did a radio show with, and then I worked in the Life of Dad one, and then as times change, you know this as well, like all the new tech comes out, all the different ways you can do a podcast. I'm like, all right, I want to see how, if I can start it from now, like 2019 and back then, last year, if I can start from soup to nuts. And I did it, and I did the Art of Fatherhood podcast just to see if like times are changing, tech's changing, and I want to be in the know. And you always want to be very knowledgeable of like what's in that field. And podcasting is important to us, so we want to feel like, all right, how can we improve upon our craft? How can we get better? What audio equipment, what sound editing equipment is out there. So I'm always learning, just like you. I mean, I love your format with your guests. You got the video, but then you also got the audio. So for me, it's always like now it's like, because podcasting is booming, there's so many like more companies like, okay, let's try this, or let's use this software. So everything is like being very innovative right now for podcasting. So I think it's a good time to start. So if you want to start a podcast now.
I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I don't know how, or I don't get the immediate value. But I think of podcasting not so much as a cash cow, but as a way to really cement and build either your personal brand or the brand of your company. Super powerful. So one of the things I want to ask you, Art, you've been really successful in landing huge guests. You've interviewed like Shaquille O'Neal and just all these amazing people.
Yeah.
What tip would you give to someone out there who wants to start an interview podcast? What's like the number one tip you'd give them for landing a big guest like that?
I would start. I would kind of start small. Like some of my guests were maybe authors that were talking about fatherhood, right? And then I kind of build my clientele. And after a while, it's like, hey, I had this guy. Like I remember, I think I had John Elway and Tom Glavine on like different shows, and it was like, sweet. So you add that to your thing, like, hey, I just spoke with John Elway. Would love to talk with like Emmett Smith. Okay, cool. And you just kind of work that out. Like, hey, I interviewed this guy. They wanted to come on the show. We'd love to have this guy, Emmett, talk about fatherhood as well. So build up your clientele, start slowly, and also talk about what is meaningful to you. I think authenticity is going to be the key, because if someone just says, because they're going to like, if you reach out to a PR firm or like someone's publicist, whatever the case may be, to interview someone, they're going to listen to your podcast. And if it's just like, just trying to get someone, they'll figure that out right away, right?
Yeah.
So be authentic, and for me, my thing was like, I just want to go for the people I want to talk to, whether they were like sports heroes or movie stars that I was a big fan of, like Mark Hamill, because I'm a Star Wars geek. So it was just like, and it's, just like you said, it's going to take a little while. Like you might get a no, sorry, or he's too busy, he can't do it right now. But just stay on it, and eventually it'll happen.
Yeah, definitely don't give up on no, because you're not going to land that Mark Hamill or that Elway. Like that's not going to happen day one. Keep leveling up, keep improving your pitch.
And also too, when you do get that guest that you've been like looking after, have some notes, depending on whatever your podcast style is. Maybe just go off from the cuff, that's great. But you're going to have nerves, right? I remember when I interviewed Bo Jackson, we were in two different rooms, like two separate, I was in New Jersey at the time, he was in, I think, Illinois. I was nervous as hell, man. I was shaking off. But like, I had everything scripted out, but I was just like, those nerves, you'll get past that the more you do. And also, you do the video thing, so that's great too, because you can have that great body language of seeing someone back and forth.
Yeah.
I'd also encourage people to do podcasts like you're doing right now, live. Just do it live with people, because if you're at a sporting event or if you're somewhere and you're just like got 5 minutes, just whip out your cell phone, get the audio thing up there and start doing it, and then you won't get nervous, because the more you do in person, the better you're going to be, even like when you're recording from your own home studio.
Great tip. Get comfortable with discomfort.
Yes.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable, man. That's huge, absolutely huge. So Art, if people want to hear more about podcasting, fatherhood, and what you're working on, where can they find you?
Go to artoffatherhood.net. I actually have a podcasting consulting thing as well, so if you're looking to start a podcast, ask questions, I can kind of help you out there too.
Love it. One last question before I let you go.
Yeah.
If you had a billboard that could reach millions and millions and millions of fathers, Art, what would you put on that billboard?
That's a really good question. I kind of think we do that right now with our podcast, right? With our positive message. I mean, the stuff that you have on all formats, LinkedIn, you're always encouraging, you're asking questions to fathers, like what's your motivation for fatherhood? What are you doing here? I think that's great. Man, for me, it would just be listen, love, and be there.
Love it.